Welcome to Easy Sleep, where calm begins and your journey to restful sleep starts now. The sky had softened into shades of lilac and indigo, the quiet hum of evening settling like a gentle breath over the lakeside community. The first hint of stars began to twinkle softly above, mirrored serenely on the lake's glassy surface. Alex stood near the small, carefully built bonfire, thoughtfully stirring the flames, the crackle of logs merging with the whispered rustle of leaves. Sam arrived first, shoulders slightly tense, hands tucked deep into the pockets of his jacket. His footsteps crunched softly along the gravel path, announcing his arrival before he spoke. "Evening, Alex," he said, offering a small nod. His voice held the tired edge of a man carrying too many thoughts. "Sam." Alex smiled warmly, gesturing gently toward one of the well-worn wooden chairs arranged around the fire. "Glad you could make it." Sam settled in quietly, gaze fixed on the growing fire. Soon after, Dana arrived, her presence marked by the quiet shuffle of her sandals. She offered a soft greeting to Alex, her smile tender but slightly distant, as if part of her attention remained elsewhere. "Evening," Dana said softly, choosing a seat near the warmth, hands resting comfortably in her lap, her posture reflecting quiet reserve. Marcus joined last, his hesitant footsteps speaking volumes even before his soft, uncertain voice murmured a greeting. "Hey everyone," he said, clearing his throat gently. "Sorry if I'm late." "No rush," Alex reassured him kindly, his eyes holding Marcus's briefly, offering steady reassurance. "Glad you're here." As each person settled, a gentle rhythm of familiar comfort began to take shape around the fire. Conversations started slowly, fragments of day-to-day anecdotes blend in with quieter, more reflective murmurs. Sam briefly mentioned another frustrating day at the office, a careful veil over deeper tensions evident in his clipped tone and restless gestures. Dana shared a soft story about a small, gentle triumph, a quiet moment she carved out for herself amidst daily obligations. Marcus nodded thoughtfully, a flicker of admiration crossing his eyes as if quietly wondering how she had managed even that small feat. Marcus himself offered only brief glimpses into his entrepreneurial journey, hesitancy colouring every word. He spoke briefly about sorting inventory, a mundane detail spoken as if it carried heavier weight. Alex nodded gently, sensing layers of unspoken anxiety beneath Marcus's careful words. The evening breeze brushed softly over the gathering, bringing with it the gentle murmur of lake water lapping rhythmically at the shore. The scent of pine mingled faintly with wood smoke, creating an atmosphere of soothing serenity. Gradually, conversation lulled into comfortable silence, the group collectively absorbing the tranquility. It was then, in the soft pause, that Alex gently spoke. His voice was calm, resonant, yet reassuringly quiet, carrying effortlessly in the still air. "You know," he began slowly, eyes thoughtfully reflecting the fire's glow. "It's interesting how we each bring something here every evening, even if it's just a small piece of our day. Little victories, quiet doubts, pieces of our struggles. But they all matter. Small as they seem, they're important steps." Sam shifted slightly in his chair, glancing sideways at Alex, as if the words resonated more deeply than he wished to admit. Dana looked quietly thoughtful, eyes glinting softly with acknowledgement, as if relieved by the validation of her gentle achievements. Marcus leaned forward slightly, brow furrowing gently with interest, as if absorbing Alex's quiet wisdom with a newfound hunger. The gentle wisdom, offered without pressure, began softly loosening the tight knots each had carried with them, though none yet voiced the subtle relief settling within. As the sky darkened fully, stars brightening clearly against velvet darkness, Alex's calm, steady presence seemed to anchor them gently in a moment of shared understanding. The evening closed around them gently, filled not only with the warmth of flames, but the quiet strength of companionship and quiet promise, softly reassuring them that tomorrow would bring another evening and another gentle step forward. Sam arrived at the lakeside earlier than usual the next evening, the remnants of daylight softly illuminating the gentle ripples on the water. He stood near the shoreline, hands in his pockets, the posture of a man quietly confronting thoughts he'd been avoiding all day. The lake seemed to echo his mood, tranquil yet subtly restless. The crunch of gravel signaled Alex's arrival behind him. "Evening, Sam," Alex greeted warmly, his voice gentle but quietly inquisitive. "Evening," Sam responded, turning slightly toward Alex. A faint, hesitant smile appeared briefly on his lips. "Thought I'd come out early. Needed a moment, I guess." Alex nodded understandingly, joining him quietly by the water's edge. "It helps sometimes," Alex offered gently, gaze fixed thoughtfully on the horizon, "just to stand still and think." Sam exhaled softly, the tension in his shoulders slightly easing as he began to speak more openly. "I'm starting to realize it's not really the job, Alex. Not entirely, anyway." His voice was low, measured. "It's more the feeling. Like I've been stuck in place so long, I've forgotten how to move forward. Every day, I plan big moves, but when the time comes, I hesitate. I guess I don't even know where to begin." Alex listened carefully, the silence between them filled with quiet empathy. Eventually, he spoke softly. "You know, Sam, every path starts with just one step. But sometimes we get so caught up in imagining the entire journey, we forget the value of that first small movement forward. Just one small step can change the entire direction you're headed." Sam frowned thoughtfully, considering Alex's words. "Small steps," he murmured quietly, almost testing the idea aloud. He looked up slowly, eyes meeting Alex's with cautious curiosity. "But how do you know which small step to take? Where do you start?" Alex smiled gently, eyes softening in understanding. "Maybe you don't need the perfect first step. Just a step. The action itself brings clarity, sometimes even more than careful planning. Small changes often lead to bigger shifts without us even realizing it at first." They stood quietly, the evening air cool but comforting. Voices murmured softly behind them as Dana and Marcus arrived, exchanging brief, cheerful greetings. Sam felt oddly reassured by their familiar voices, a subtle reminder he wasn't alone in seeking answers. Moving slowly toward the familiar circle of chairs near the bonfire, Sam felt lighter, the idea of smaller, manageable steps subtly changing his perspective. His strides felt purposeful, yet gentle, less burdened by the weight of needing instant solutions. As everyone settled into their seats, the flames crackling quietly, conversation began gently flowing around the group. Dana shared quietly about managing small yet significant shifts in her own daily routine, her voice soft but firm. Marcus nodded in thoughtful agreement, adding quietly that each small decision felt like it was slowly building towards something meaningful. Sam listened, observing carefully. His earlier anxiety softened into quiet hope, a slow realization settling warmly within him. Perhaps, he thought quietly, meaningful progress truly was possible, one careful step at a time. He allowed himself a faint smile, knowing he'd already taken the first small step. He'd acknowledged the power of movement, however subtle. Alex met his gaze briefly, a quiet encouragement in his eyes. The gentle conversations continued softly into the deepening evening, each member of the group subtly buoyed by the shared acknowledgement of slow but significant progress. Sam leaned back comfortably, the fire's warmth matched by the quiet assurance he now felt deep within, reassuring him that small steps would indeed lead him forward. Dana arrived at the lakeside quietly, her presence nearly imperceptible amidst the gentle rustle of trees and the faint whisper of water lapping at the shore. She chose a spot slightly away from the fire, gaze thoughtfully fixed on the calming lake, her posture a reflection of quiet contemplation. Alex observed her silently, allowing the peaceful atmosphere of the lake to envelop them before gently approaching her, his footsteps soft and unintrusive. "Evening, Dana," he said quietly, his voice warm and inviting. "Everything all right?" She glanced briefly at him, her expression revealing a fleeting moment of vulnerability before her usual calm returned. "Just a long day," she admitted softly, the words almost a sigh. "You ever feel like every minute of your day is borrowed from someone else?" Alex nodded gently, joining her quietly at the shoreline. "Caregiving has a way of doing that," he offered softly, his eyes empathetic. "It's easy to forget yourself in the process." Dana exhaled softly, her shoulders loosening slightly. "Exactly," she whispered, a quiet relief evident in her voice. "But then, when I try to take even a small moment for myself, I feel this guilt, like I'm neglecting my responsibilities." Alex listened patiently, nodding thoughtfully. After a moment, he spoke gently, each word carefully chosen. "You know, Dana, sometimes the strength we admire most in others, the strength to care, to support, to help, is rooted deeply in their ability to also care for themselves. You can't pour endlessly from a well you never refill." Dana glanced at him, eyes thoughtful, quietly absorbing his gentle wisdom. "I know you're right," she murmured, voice tinged with quiet acceptance. "It's just so much easier to see it in others than to practice it myself." A gentle pause settled between them, filled by the calming whispers of the lake. Alex's voice eventually broke the quiet, gently guiding her further. "Maybe the guilt comes from believing that caring for yourself takes away from caring for others. But what if it actually strengthens your ability to be there for them?" Dana nodded slowly, thoughtfully, her gaze fixed on the gently rippling water as if drawing comfort from its steady rhythm. "I suppose it's about balance," she said quietly, almost to herself. "Finding strength in the quiet moments so you can continue to give without feeling drained." By the fire, Sam and Marcus had begun softly chatting, their quiet laughter occasionally carrying over. The gentle camaraderie was reassuring, grounding Dana further in the moment. She turned toward the warmth, a subtle sense of relief spreading gently within her. As they approached the circle, Alex's quiet encouragement lingered warmly in her thoughts. Dana settled comfortably into her chair, feeling lighter, quietly resolved. The conversations drifted naturally, each person subtly sharing small triumphs and quiet insights, reaffirming Dana's newfound understanding. When Marcus spoke of small victories in his fledgling business, Dana found herself smiling quietly, recognizing in his words the gentle strength she'd begun to feel in her own choices. Sam's recounting of incremental steps resonated deeply with her, reinforcing the quiet courage it took to put oneself first without losing sight of others. The evening deepened into serene darkness, stars softly glowing above. Dana relaxed fully into her seat, feeling the quiet strength Alex had gently encouraged take root within her, allowing herself, finally, a sense of peace and gentle permission to care for herself with as much kindness as she offered others. Marcus walked slowly along the lakeside path, the quiet crunch of gravel beneath his feet blending rhythmically with the gentle chorus of evening insects. The tranquility around him felt oddly at odds with the turmoil inside, a quiet storm of self-doubt he'd carried throughout the day. He paused briefly at the edge of the bonfire area, watching flames flicker softly, hesitant to intrude upon the peaceful gathering. Alex, noticing Marcus's silent hesitation, offered a gentle, encouraging wave, beckoning him closer. "Hey, Marcus," Alex greeted warmly, his tone quietly reassuring. "Glad you're here." Marcus nodded, moving slowly toward the group, taking his usual spot beside Sam and Dana. His posture was tense, reflective of internal uncertainties quietly bubbling beneath the surface. "Something on your mind?" Alex asked softly, eyes gently probing yet respectfully, allowing Marcus the space to share, or not, at his own pace. Marcus hesitated momentarily, then sighed, his voice quiet but honest. "Just feeling stuck," he admitted, gaze fixed on the gentle flames, as if searching for answers within their warmth. "Running my own business sounded exciting at first, but now every decision feels overwhelming. Even small ones carry so much weight." Dana gave a quiet, supportive nod, her eyes sympathetic. Sam leaned slightly forward, listening closely, clearly relating to Marcus's sense of pressure. Alex regarded Marcus thoughtfully, allowing a gentle pause before responding, voice calm and reassuring. "Starting anything new is daunting. Every step feels crucial because you're building from scratch, piece by piece. But remember, each small decision you make, even the ones that feel insignificant, creates something uniquely yours. Trust that quiet voice inside guiding you. It's often wiser than we realize." Marcus listened carefully, absorbing Alex's words with quiet thoughtfulness. "I just keep second-guessing myself," Marcus confessed softly. "What if I'm wrong?" "Being wrong isn't always a step backward," Alex gently countered, his voice steady and comforting. "Sometimes it's the step you need to find the right direction. The best paths often reveal themselves through trial and error, through reflection on what didn't work as much as what did." Marcus considered this carefully, the flames casting gentle patterns of light and shadow across his thoughtful features. Gradually, a subtle shift in his posture indicated a gentle easing of his anxieties. "Maybe, Marcus finally responded, voice quiet but carrying a newfound edge of quiet resolve. Maybe the reflection is just as valuable as the action itself. Dana smiled softly, nodding. Exactly. Reflection can give clarity that action alone sometimes can't. Sam murmured his quiet agreement, his tone echoing Marcus's quiet realization. The gentle camaraderie of shared reflections lifted Marcus subtly, easing the weight he'd carried with him. The evening deepened, the fire's warmth and gentle crackling serving as a comforting backdrop to their thoughtful exchanges. Marcus felt quietly buoyed by the group's shared experiences, realizing the value of his quiet introspection. As stars gently brightened overhead, Marcus felt a subtle yet profound shift within himself. The quiet doubts remained, but they felt manageable, softened by quiet reassurance and gentle insights from the community around him. As he settled deeper into his seat, a quiet determination took root, a gentle promise to embrace reflection, accepting it as a crucial guiding companion on his entrepreneurial journey. The evening arrived gently, with the lake's surface softly reflecting the twilight sky, broken occasionally by small ripples formed by the breeze or distant fish surfacing briefly. Alex sat quietly beside the bonfire, thoughtfully observing the water as the rest of the group gradually settled around him, their conversations comfortably quiet and reflective. Sam, still carrying the quiet optimism from earlier discussions, was first to speak softly into the peaceful silence. "It's strange," he began thoughtfully, gaze lingering on the lake's gentle movement. "I never really thought about small actions making such a difference until recently. But watching those ripples, it's clear even the smallest thing creates a change." Dana nodded gently, her voice soft but sure. "It's easy to underestimate small steps, small actions," she agreed, thoughtfully tracing the outline of flames with her gaze. "But I've found they're powerful. Little choices build over time until suddenly you realize how far you've come." Marcus listened attentively, eyes bright with quiet understanding. "It's funny," he added quietly, "how clearly we see it here. Ripples, small shifts in the water, but struggle to see it in our own lives." Alex smiled softly, quietly affirming their insights. "That's the beauty of gathering here. We slow down enough to notice what life's pace often obscures. The small moments, gentle shifts, quiet victories. Each ripple, no matter how subtle, travels outward. The changes we make quietly, but consistently, become meaningful beyond our immediate perception." The group sat in thoughtful silence, absorbing Alex's gentle wisdom. Dana broke the quiet thoughtfully, softly musing. "I suppose that's how communities work too. Each person's subtle shifts affect everyone around them, gently shaping the community in ways we hardly realize." Sam nodded thoughtfully, eyes glinting with quiet insight. "Which makes our choices, even the smallest ones, important, doesn't it? They're never isolated." Marcus shifted gently, a subtle but genuine smile forming. "It's comforting in a way," he murmured, voice filled with quiet optimism. "Knowing our efforts, however minor they seem, are meaningful." Alex's gentle presence continued anchoring their conversation, his quiet observations subtly guiding their reflections. "Exactly," he confirmed softly. "Change doesn't always need fanfare or grand gestures. Sometimes, the most lasting and meaningful progress comes quietly, gradually, ripple by ripple." The group settled comfortably into a gentle silence again, the soft sounds of nature around them a reassuring backdrop to their thoughts. Each person quietly reflected, privately recognizing the gentle yet powerful influence they carried within themselves, softly inspired by the group's shared insights. The night sky deepened gradually, stars quietly punctuating the darkness above, mirroring the gentle sparks from the fire below. Dana, Marcus, and Sam exchanged quiet glances, their mutual understanding unspoken but powerfully felt. They each sensed clearly, perhaps more deeply than before, that their quiet, gentle efforts held significance. Like ripples on the water, their subtle actions extended outward, shaping their lives and those around them in ways that were softly powerful, quietly meaningful, and deeply reassuring. Chapter 6. Listening to the Lake. The lakeside was especially peaceful, wrapped gently in the soft embrace of twilight. The distant calls of birds faded quietly, leaving only the occasional whisper of wind through leaves and the rhythmic lapping of water along the shore. Alex sat quietly, eyes softly closed, absorbing the gentle symphony of evening sounds, visibly at peace. Sam, Dana, and Marcus arrived quietly, respectful of Alex's tranquil moment, each sensing the evening carried something special, something deeper to be quietly uncovered. As they settled silently around the fire, Alex opened his eyes slowly, his gaze warm, gently contemplative. "I've been thinking," Alex began softly, voice carrying easily in the serene stillness. "We talk often about the small steps, gentle actions, quiet strength, but sometimes it's equally important to pause and listen. The lake has a way of speaking if we pay attention." Marcus tilted his head slightly, intrigued. "Listening to the lake?" he questioned softly, eyes curious. Alex nodded gently, his eyes thoughtful, reflecting deeply. "Yes, life is full of noise, opinions, expectations, fears, doubts. But beneath all that, there's a quiet truth, much like the subtle whispers of the lake. We just need to learn how to listen." Dana nodded quietly, voice barely above a whisper as she spoke. "Listening, truly listening, requires us to slow down, doesn't it? To be patient and open." "Yes," Alex affirmed gently, smiling warmly. "Exactly that. My life wasn't always calm. For many years, I chased after things that promised excitement, success, or meaning. But each achievement felt hollow, until I learned the value of slowing down. The lake taught me that. When everything was silent around me, when I stopped long enough to truly listen, clarity came gently, naturally." Sam leaned forward slightly, drawn to Alex's words. "Did you find answers? Or just peace?" Alex met Sam's gaze, softly, thoughtfully. "Both," he responded gently. "When I stopped chasing noise and started listening to the quiet around me, clarity about what truly mattered became clear. Peace was simply a natural companion of that clarity." Marcus looked thoughtfully at the lake, visibly moved by Alex's gentle insights. "I suppose it's about finding balance, knowing when to act and when to pause, listen, and reflect." Alex smiled quietly, nodding warmly. "Precisely. Each has its own strength, its own wisdom. Action without reflection can leave us lost, but reflection without action keeps us stagnant. Balance, gentle but deliberate, is key." Dana sighed gently, a quiet understanding evident in her eyes. The lake does have a way of reminding us, she murmured softly, a quiet sense of peace settling visibly within her. Maybe we just need to trust that if we pause long enough, the answers we need will quietly surface. Alex's eyes softened warmly, quietly affirming her insight. Trust, he echoed softly. Exactly. Trusting the quiet, trusting ourselves. That's what the lake teaches us. The gentle conversations gave way gradually to a comfortable silence, each member quietly absorbing the depth of Alex's reflections. The lake seemed almost to respond in quiet affirmation, its gentle rhythms a comforting backdrop to their shared understanding. As evening turned into gentle night, stars softly lighting their shared contemplation, Sam, Dana, and Marcus sat quietly, deeply reflective. They sensed, perhaps more clearly than ever, the quiet power of listening, the gentle yet profound clarity that arose naturally when they paused, trusted, and allowed the lake's gentle whispers to guide them. The air was warm with the lingering scent of pine and firewood as the group gathered once more beside the lake. There was an unspoken shift in their rhythm now, something steadier, more intentional. The flickering bonfire welcomed them like an old friend, its glow casting long shadows across the worn path where their footprints, night after night, traced familiar lines. Sam arrived with a notepad in hand, a small, inconspicuous thing tucked beneath his arm. As he lowered into his seat, he glanced around and offered a modest smile. I had a conversation with my supervisor today, he said after a pause, eyes still on the fire. It wasn't a big leap, just asked about other roles I might grow into. Just opened the door a crack. Marcus gave a soft, approving nod. That's still movement, he said quietly. Sometimes a crack is all you need. Dana looked up from her lap, her fingers gently folding the hem of her sleeve. And once it's open, the air starts to move differently, she added. Even if it's slow. The group fell into a moment of thoughtful silence, comforted by the affirmation that motion didn't always have to be fast to be real. Around them, the lake murmured its approval, the water stirring gently in the warm night breeze. Dana reached into her bag and pulled out a slim paperback, edges worn. I started reading again, she said quietly. Just 15 minutes before bed. It's the first time in months I've done something just for myself. Sam looked over with a soft smile. What are you reading? An old mystery, she said, chuckling gently. Nothing profound. Just something that reminds me I still have space to get lost in stories. Marcus, quiet until now, leaned forward slightly. I said no to something this week, he said, almost surprised by his own admission. A client who wanted too much for too little. Normally I'd take it, afraid of losing money, but I didn't, and I still made it through the week. Alex, who had listened without interruption, finally nodded, his expression one of quiet pride. Momentum doesn't always look like rushing forward, he said. Sometimes it's standing your ground, reclaiming space, or remembering yourself. These are movements too. Marcus exhaled slowly, letting Alex's words settle. I didn't think of it that way, he said thoughtful. But it felt good, like something shifted, just a little. Alex smiled. Small shifts change direction, and once you've turned even a fraction, you end up in a different place entirely. As the night deepened and the stars took their places above, The conversation slowed, but the warmth lingered. In small, quiet ways, each of them had begun to move, sometimes forward, sometimes inward, always deliberately. The fire crackled softly, echoing the gentle sparks of momentum now glowing within them all. And as they sat together in the hush of the evening, it was clear that something had taken root, not loud or grand, but steady. A slow momentum, quietly shaping the days to come. The first true chill of autumn hung in the air as the group gathered by the lake. A soft wind stirred the surface of the water, creating long silver ripples beneath a half-lit moon. The fire crackled louder than usual, as if to keep the coming cold at bay. Sam arrived with a noticeable spring in his step, his notepad now creased and well used. He waited until the group had settled before speaking. "I spoke with someone in our strategy team today," he said, eyes bright with cautious excitement. "They're letting me shadow a few meetings. It's not a promotion, but it's a direction, a real one." Dana beamed, her voice warm with sincerity. "That's huge, Sam. You opened the door, and now you're walking through it." Sam nodded, his smile lingering. "Yeah, I think I forgot how good it feels to just be moving again, even if I don't know exactly where I'm headed." Dana looked down at her hands for a moment before speaking. "I took the afternoon off today," she said quietly. "Not for an emergency, not because someone needed me, just because I wanted to go to the library. I walked around for hours. It was grounding." Alex nodded slowly, his expression proud but serene. "It's easy to give when we forget our own weight. But the moment you care for yourself deliberately, the world shifts just slightly back into balance." Marcus stared into the fire for a long moment before speaking. "I finally raised my prices," he said, voice steady despite a flicker of apprehension. "I lost 2 clients, but 1 stayed, and they said, 'Good, you're worth it.'" A silence followed, full of respect, of unspoken pride. "That's a turning point," Sam said quietly. Marcus smiled, almost shyly. "Feels like it. Feels like I just told myself I believe in what I'm doing." The group sat in contemplative quiet, the wind brushing through the trees around them. The lake's surface danced with delicate movement, reflecting the shimmering orange from the fire. Alex, who had been listening with an attentive calm, finally spoke. "These moments, these choices, they're not just progress, they're confirmations, quiet declarations of who you're becoming." No one rushed to fill the space after that. It lingered gently, like the warmth of a hand on your shoulder long after it's gone. They each felt the truth in Alex's words, and more importantly, they each felt it in themselves. Above them, the stars shimmered in the still night sky. Below, the lake cradled their reflections in patient ripples. And around the fire, the 3 of them sat with a quiet knowledge that something had changed, not dramatically, but deeply. Turning points, quietly claimed and gently carried forward. A week later, the lake welcomed them once more, calm and sure beneath the rising moon. The air had grown crisper, the scent of fallen leaves mixing with wood smoke as Alex tended the first crackling flames of the evening. One by one, they arrived, not rushed, not hesitant, just there, as if drawn by the gravity of ritual. Dana appeared first, scarf wrapped snugly around her neck, Carrying a thermos, she poured generously into tin cups. "Chamomile," she said, passing them around. "Thought we could use something warm tonight." Marcus arrived shortly after, bundled in layers, his expression calm but content. Sam followed, his notepad still under his arm, though less guarded now, more a tool than a shield. They eased into their seats, the fire warming their faces as the night gathered gently around them. No one felt the need to speak at first. The silence wasn't empty. It was full of understanding, of quiet presence, of shared memory. Alex broke the silence with a small smile. "You've all been listening," he said. "To yourselves, to this place. It shows." Sam tilted his head, considering. "It's strange," he said. "Everything feels different now, but nothing really has. Not outside. Just me." Dana sipped her tea, the steam brushing her cheek. "That's what matters though, isn't it?" she said softly. "We keep looking for the world to change, but maybe the shift starts right here." She pressed a hand gently to her chest. Marcus leaned forward, elbows on knees. "The things I used to see as failure, I'm beginning to recognize them as learning, or at least movement, and I don't feel stuck anymore." Alex nodded, looking at each of them in turn. Change doesn't always announce itself with trumpets. Sometimes it's a quieter thing, a steadier fire, a deeper breath, a choice to keep showing up. The fire popped gently, sending a brief spray of sparks into the dark. They fell into easy conversation then, about little things, ordinary things, weekend plans, recipes, the best nearby bakery. There was laughter, comfortable and light, braided into the rhythm of flickering flame and night air. As the stars brightened above, Alex sat back, watching them, not as a guide, but simply as one among them. The others had grown into their own strength, not because of him, but beside him. Eventually the fire dimmed to embers, and they stood slowly, reluctant but content. There was no need to say what they all knew. They would gather again. Maybe tomorrow, maybe next week. The lake would be waiting, and so would they. Each still growing, each still listening, each still taking quiet, steady steps forward. Another evening, another gentle chapter, another ripple in the water.